The lawsuit filed by David Maltinsky, a 16-year veteran of the FBI who claims he was wrongfully terminated for displaying a pride flag, sets the stage for a critical legal and political showdown. This case is about more than just a personnel dispute. It represents a key point of tension between an employee's right to expressive conduct, the government's need for political neutrality in its law enforcement agencies, and the impact of the current administration's rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives. Summary and analysis. David Maltinsky, an intelligence specialist on the verge of graduating from the FBI Special Agent Training Academy, was summarily dismissed by FBI Director Kash Patel for the inappropriate display of political signage at his former Los Angeles field office workstation. The signage in question was a Progress Pride flag that the field office itself had previously flown and then presented to him in recognition of his diversity efforts. Maltinsky's suit alleges that his termination violates his First Amendment right to free speech and his Fifth Amendment right to equal protection, arguing the flag was a symbol of inclusion and identity, not a partisan political statement. The timing. The complaint about the flag surfaced shortly after the current administration took office, which subsequently issued an executive order to end federal DEI programs, suggests the firing was politically motivated and part of a broader purge within the Justice Department. The central legal issue is whether the pride flag constitutes protected speech concerning a matter of public concern, or whether it falls under the government's legitimate authority to regulate partisan political activity in a highly sensitive law enforcement environment, as defined by laws like the Hatch Act. The fact that the agency had previously sanctioned the flag's display weakens the FBI's claim that it was inherently inappropriate political signage. Reasons and consequences. Reasons for the termination. FBI's alleged stance. Enforcement of political neutrality. The FBI's official position, as implied by the termination letter, is that the flag violates policies requiring federal workplaces, especially those of law enforcement agencies, to maintain strict political neutrality. The agency categorizes the pride flag as political signage. Current administration's shift. The termination aligns with the current administration's public stance against woke ideology and its dismantling of federal DEI programs, creating an environment where supervisors are incentivized to terminate employees whose expressive conduct might be perceived as ideological or non-conforming to the new political climate. Consequences. The chilling effect. Maltinsky's lawsuit claims the firing has already created a ripple effect of fear within the FBI, with many LGBTQ+ employees and allies removing their own subtle displays of support. This leads to reduced psychological safety and hinders the agency's ability to attract and retain diverse talent. Legal precedent for federal employment. The court's decision will significantly impact the interpretation of the First Amendment rights of further restricted federal employees, like those in the FBI, regarding nonpartisan identity expression. A loss for Maltinsky could severely limit expressive rights across the federal workforce, while a win would force agencies to clearly distinguish between partisan political activity, like campaigning, and identity-based expression, like the pride flag. Damage to FBI credibility. The suit adds to the perception of the FBI being subject to political pressure, potentially undermining public and congressional trust in its nonpartisan institutional integrity. Prediction and solutions. Prediction. The case is highly likely to be settled out of court rather than proceed to a full trial. The FBI and Justice Department will want to avoid a potentially unfavorable ruling that either severely curtails the government's ability to manage its workspace or conversely creates a highly visible legal victory for an administration targeting DEI efforts. A settlement would likely include financial compensation and perhaps the expungement of the termination from Maltinsky's record, without establishing a broad legal precedent on the First Amendment issue. Solutions for the federal workplace. The resolution of this conflict requires a clear, agency-wide policy that balances legitimate government interests, neutrality, security, operational focus with employee civil rights. Adopt a clear policy differentiating identity from partisan politics. Federal agencies must clearly define what constitutes prohibited partisan political activity e.g. candidate posters, party slogans, versus protected identity and affiliation expression, e.g. pride, religious, or heritage flags. Identity symbols should be explicitly permitted, provided they do not disrupt the work environment. Establish an impartial review process. Personnel actions taken against employees for expressive conduct should be subject to review by an independent internal ethics or counsel office to prevent politically motivated or retaliatory firings. Mandatory DEI and workplace respect training. Consistent, mandatory training must be reinstated to educate employees and managers on EEO laws, the difference between protected speech and prohibited conduct, and the value of an inclusive workplace for mission success. Emphasize mission-focused culture. By clearly articulating that diversity and inclusion are essential to effective law enforcement and national security, not just ideological extras, agencies can better defend these values against shifting political winds.